Hello friends, so today is the sixth day of this 10-day challenge and yesterday we are not able to start this challenge classes, but today we are able to start the day 6 of this 10-day challenge, and today our target is to understand the key takeaways of the topic from the domain 5 of CISSP. Domain 5 is about identity and access management. So as we discussed in our live classes also that on daily basis on our day-to-day routine we are dealing with the identity and access management solutions, techniques, controls. It is just a matter of fact that we need to understand what exactly those techniques are, right? Then we can just map those techniques with our normal day-to-day routine, and then we can say yes, we are dealing with them. So we can say identity and access management deals with who get the access, to what asset he got the access, and at what location he will get the access. Also, we need to say for how long he will get this access and for what particular purpose he will get this action. So ultimately, we are dealing with these five questions in identity and access management. It means who will get the access, for what he will get the access, at what location he will get the access, and for how long duration he will get the access, and for what particular purpose he will get the access. So this is all about identity and access management. So the core concept of IAM begin with the foundation concept of controlling physical and logical access to the asset. So we can say whenever we want to provide any access, whether it is a physical access or a logical access, then IAM automatically comes into picture. So the access can be to the people, to the devices, and to the services. So we can say that we are managing the identification and authentication of people, devices, and services in IAM. So let's start the overall uh, this journey of IAM. So today is the sixth day, and we are going to cover the domain 5 of identity of CISSP, which is identity and access management. So let's take the what exactly we are going to complete in this video session. So today we are going to discuss about the topic 5 takeaways, domain 5 topic takeaways, and the type of the questions related to those takeaways. What exactly I have done, I have also created some notes, right? So whenever you are going to purchase the questions, then automatically you will get a package of the notes in the defined format of the four types, the categorization which I have done exactly the same way. I have categorized the notes in the same way. So it will be easier to understand the concept, the implementation of the concept, also when, how, and where it can be implemented. If you implement that particular concept, then what exactly the outcome of or result of the same will be. And finally, if there are any steps involved in that particular process, it will be given there. So in this format, I have created the notes for all the 63 topics, but I as we are following a technique of spaced learning, so that's why I'm not going to give all the notes in a single shot. So you will, on each day you will get one or two topics of the notes depending on the overall length of the topic, right? So in this way I assure you that within 30 days you are able to complete the whole CISSP without any major challenges and without any difficulties. With that, you will get the questions in the sets of 10, 20, 30, 50. So you are able to cover, do the practice in parallel with just study the notes and do the practice. So that will be much more easier to achieve the CISSP certification. So let's start the journey of the topic takeaways. So in this particular domain of domain CISSP, domain 5 of CISSP, the first topic is about the control physical and logical access to assets. But whenever we are going to discuss about the physical and logical access to assets, then we need to understand the concept of subject and object. So subject is, it means something which is going to get the access, and object is for what we are going to provide the access. So that is the difference we need to understand, right? So whenever any particular user is going to access any particular portal, then the particular user is our subject and the portal is our object. So whenever we are going to give permission or rights, then on the we will provide the permission to access the object, and we will give the right of the object to the subject. So that is the concept of subject and object. So that is the most important topic takeaway from this particular topic. So the next topic takeaway is about the access control impact on the CIA triad, or we can say access control and the CIA triad. So whenever, sorry, so whenever we are going to discuss about the CIA triad, then we need to understand the concept of confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So confidentiality is preserving the authorized restriction on information access and disclosure. And integrity means the guarding against improper information, modification, or destruction. And availability is, it means access to the information as and when required to the authorized user. So that is availability. So with this, the next topic takeaway is 4. That is, we need to understand the concept of information, systems, devices, and facilities. Because ultimately, we are going to provide access to these 4 things only, right? So our subject and object will be within these only. So first is information. We are going to provide security. Whenever we are saying that we are going to provide security to information, it means we are protecting the CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability value of the information. So that is what the topic takeaway for this particular topic is information. So the next is system. Oh, sorry. So so the next is system. When we are talking about system, it is a collection of hardware, software, algorithm, personal policies, budget, and similar resources. So it means it is a combination. It is not a single thing. It is not a single device. It is a combination of multiple things which are taken together and then combined together to accomplish any particular task or any particular goal for which they were created. The system is created. So it is a combination or collection of multiple things. So we need to understand the concept of the system here. Then comes in system only, there is one more concept of black holing, which we need to understand. So it is a practice of concealing any system or subnet from any unauthorized person while leaving it available for connection from authorized devices. It means the black hole network or the black hole systems, they are not visible, they are not known to the unauthorized user, but the authorized user, they can access them also, they can enter into them, they can work with them also. And the concept of IAM, right, will help in the same. So that's how the IAM will work. And we can use digital signature, or we can say IP address based techniques to access and to create such system, black holing systems in our network, right? So that's how the system works. And the second is to create proper control, physical and logical access to assets. We can also implement a ISMS in our network. ISMS is information security management system, which can be implemented using the ISO 27001 standard. So once we follow that particular framework, ISO 27001, all the controls and all the logical, physical, all the controls are given there. So we can just take those control and we can just sorry, we can just optimize them, or we can just take whatever the controls are applicable in our network, and then we can create our own ISMS in our organization. So that is the concept of framework, right? So it means from a framework, it will give everything. So whatever is required, we will take that much only, right? So we will create a statement of applicability in first, and then we will just implement those control in our network. Even NIST is also having a standard, similar standard, which is giving a list of overall all the controls, like it is NIST 853. So it is the recommended security control for federal information systems and organizations. So that is the second standard. So these two standards we can use to have a complete ISMS in any particular network. So the third thing is devices. So in devices comes everything like computer, laptop, tablet, microphone, speakers, phones, uh, and even the network devices, routers, switches, hub, printers, all these things are the devices. So ultimately, we are going to provide the access control, physical and logical access control to devices. So that's how they are covered here in this. So so devices should be available as and when required. It means whenever, suppose for this particular class, I require what? I require a laptop. Okay, I require a system. I require a screen. So those things should be available at that moment of the time when I require those. So for devices, the major emphasis is on availability. But still, we need to emphasize on the confidentiality and integrity of the same. Suppose my laptop is having some confidential information, top secret information, then confidentiality is much more important, because maybe I'm having a copy of the whole laptop. So that's why availability is one part, but we need to know for this particular purpose the laptop is there. according to the same, we can decide, okay, confidentiality is more important, integrity is more important, or availability is more important. So next comes facility. So whenever we are talking about facility, facility is the location or the space where exactly we are putting those information and those information systems, right? So for facility, we can say security of the system, network, physical devices, everything totally depends on the security of the overall physical security of the facility only, right? So the first thing comes is we need to provide a physical security. Accordingly, we can uh, make provision for rest of the type of the security. So we can say that to protect any facility, sometimes we need to use multiple access controls altogether, right? Like a physical access control system, we can use, we call it as a pack, right? So we will use a pack mechanism to it means do the overall security of the whole facility. So physical protection for classical facility, we can provide like we can put barriers, we can use keypad on the doors, we can use a badge reading machine, well controlled door locks we can use, and even in case of fire exit doors, those should be we can put a time delayed exit mechanism, which is very important to understand here. So this time delayed mechanism, we need to understand that whenever there is any whenever anyone try to open any fire exit, what exactly they will do, they will just push a handle on the door and it will open up. So in this time delayed exit door, what exactly will happen, whenever they will push that particular bar or a handle of that particular door, then automatically a timer will run. Okay, so within that timer a alarm will sound at the security. So the security, they can take the control of that particular door. So if there is any malicious user within that particular premises, he want to use that particular door for an exit, right? So that can, those particular scenarios can be taken care by using this time delayed exit mechanism. But also all these doors should be fail safe. Fail safe means if there is a power cut, then automatically the door should be in a locked position, it should not be in an open position. So fail open means if there is no supply, then the door should be in an open condition. And fail safe means if it is there is no supply, then automatically the door will be in a locked position. So that is the difference between fail safe and fail mechanism. So with this, we also need to understand what exactly a man trap means. Man trap means having a particular space and two doors on the opposite side of the same, right? So whenever the time when any particular user enter from the door A and he will reach the door B, by that time the door A should closed, and then he will open the door B. We can also, to enhance security in this particular man trap, we can also put a guard in between those two doors for interviewing purpose or for checking the authenticity of the user who is entering into that particular premises. So normally airports or critical facilities, they are having these kind of arrangements. So the next term which we need to understand is piggybacking. So piggybacking is, suppose I'm having a access control card of any particular location. So whenever I'm tapping that particular card and I'm opening that particular door, so the door closer will take some time, whether it is a slider door or it is a normal door. So it will take some time to close. So within that particular time frame, if someone enters behind me, so this particular whole process we call it as a piggybacking. Okay, so we need to understand the same also. By using a man trap, piggybacking can be controlled, right? And even by using a tripod, it can be controlled. Like, or we can say in MRT, the kind of the doors we are using, we can use those kinds of doors for a single access, for a single user, a single point of access, right? So that's how. And the next is extending the facility view. So when we are talking about the physical and logical access to assets, then automatically it comes to our mind that in our office we are controlling the physical and logical access. But in current scenario, most of the population is working from home. In that particular case, we need to extend our facility view. The facility is not within the boundary of the campus or within the boundary of that particular company. Now the facility is those users also who are sitting at home, because they are connecting to the servers, they are connecting to the local devices within our network. So they are also kind of a threat to our environment. That's why we need to extend our facility view, and we need to take care of those users also by having proper NAC, network access control, by having proper authentication authorization mechanism by having proper VPN set up in between those two networks, by having proper controls so that those systems can be checked before allowing any access within the network premises. So that's how we need to extend the facility view, that the facility is not and not only the systems which are within our boundary. We have some systems which are outside of our boundary also. So with this, we are able to say that this is the very first topic, and these are the key takeaways from the same. So the next topic, as per the ISA square CBK, is manage identification and authentication of people, devices, and services. As in our last uh, this topic, we have checked that we are going to provide access to whom? We are going to provide access to either people, to the devices, and to the services, and we need to have control on this particular access. So when we are talking about this access, then the first thing is whenever any particular device, service, or people, they will try to get the access. First, they will identify themselves. So when we are saying identify, it means our system, the system is already having some entry, some information about that particular user. And whenever that particular user will come, or device will come, or service will come, those two things will be mapped. Those two things will be checked together. And this, it means the collection of the user information or the device information of the service information is, we call it as an identity lifecycle. So in identity lifecycle, first we will create an identity. Then it means there are total 5 steps. First is identity creation, then identification, then authentication, authorization, and deprovisioning. So in identity creation, we will add a new user, right? In identification, whenever that particular user will come next time, want to have some access, so we will identify with the uh, it means the information which the system is having, it will just match those two information, and it will say yes, it is an authenticated user, so it will be allowed. So when we are saying authenticated, it means he proves his identity, that he is a genuine user. That is what authentication is. Then comes authorization, as per the privilege he is having, as per the privilege set by the administrator, or as per the privilege of the role of that particular person, he will get the access of the network, and the network or system or file, whatever it is. So we call it as authorization. And then comes deprovisioning. Whenever that particular user left the office, or he want to change the job, or his role change within the office itself, then automatically we need to do the uh, last step, that is deprovisioning. So we need to understand this whole life cycle of identity: identity creation, identification, authentication, and authorization, and deprovisioning. So we can say identity of a person is who they are. Okay. So identity and identification is the process of verifying that a claimed identity is a valid identity, and authentication is validation of the identity of that particular person. And authorization is the process of determining how much level of privilege that particular or the how much level of access that particular person, device, or service will have for that particular resource. And deprovisioning is, or we can say revocation, means ending a personal journal access to that particular system, right? So this is uh, the 5 steps of identity lifecycle which we need to understand. So the next one is about the identity management implementation. So whenever we are going to implement identity in any particular network, we are having two options. One is a centralized, other one is a decentralized way. So decentralized means the user, suppose I am a user, I want to enter into any particular office. For each and every gate, I need to do my registration for each and every level. So that is decentralized way. The other way is I need to go to a single place. I will just register at that particular gate, and then automatically all my access will be provided by that single ID. So that is what centralized is. So in current scenario, most of the things are going in a centralized way because of the cost, because of the ease of administration. Then at the time of deprovisioning also, it is very easy. We just need to remove one, then automatically the access will be removed from everyone everywhere. So that's what the centralized identity management implementation is. But for the same, we require some technique, and here the technique we can use is SSO. SSO is single sign-on. So single sign-on will be implemented as a centralized identity management service, right? So SSO can be implemented via multiple technologies, which is important to understand what are those technologies. Like the first one is CSAM, and the other one is a Kerberos. So these are the older one. Now new one, some new are also there, but we need to understand these also. And whenever there is a communication in between the systems which are there, which are connected using SSO, then there's some way how they are able to communicate. So for that we are using SAML, right? So SAML is about the communication only, and it is security assertion markup language. So currently there is a version 2 of SAML is there, so which is normally we are using in whenever we are going to implement SSO. So we are using SAML also. So either SSO we are using CSAM or Kerberos, but whenever there is a communication, then some protocol or some other technology we are using, that is SAML. Yes. So moving further, we need to understand some of the keywords for this, like IDP, that is the identity provider, whoever is providing the identity. So, and via API, okay, we will create a single SSO system. That particular single SSO system wants to communicate. Now, whatever multiple portals are there, we will create APIs now of this particular SSO system. And each and every portal will use that particular API to log in to provide access to the particular users within those portals using this centralized SSO services. So this is how, but we need to understand the whole thing. We need to understand this Kerberos way of working also. So then moving to the next one. Next one is about the single factor and multi-factor authentication. So whenever we are saying single factor and multi-factor authentication system, we need to understand that there are three kinds of authentication factors, right? Type 1, type 2, type 3. Type 1 is something we know. Type 2 is something you have. Okay. Type 3 is something you are. So we can say something you know means a password, a cognitive password, a security question answer. So that is what something you know. Something you have means a smart card, okay, a token. So all these are something you have, and something you are means biometric. Nowadays, the fourth technique is also there, something somewhere you are. So that is geolocation based. So they will exactly know where exactly you are, and depending on your location, the access will be provided. So whenever we are using a single way of authentication, either of these four, then we call it as a single factor authentication. And whenever we are using multiple way of this authentication, then we are saying multi-factor authentication. Suppose if anyone is using a password and a cognitive password, then it is a single factor or a multi-factor. It is a single factor only. The reason for the same is both these are from the something you know category only. So the category is one. So if in single category we are using multiple type of authentication, then it is again a single factor authentication. So, but if I'm using a password with a card or a password with a fingerprint, then we will call it as a multi-factor authentication. Multi-factor authentication are much more secure, so we need to understand the concept of having multi-factor authentication and the security. So in password is the weakest way of security, we can say. Normally user should not remember the password. Some good policy for the password, like the password should be strong, it should be of 12 character, it should have uppercase, lowercase. So all these are the basics thing which we need to understand for the CISSP exam. So it means password should be complex, it should be long, it should be different, it should be changed frequently, and it should be non-obvious. It means I should not keep the password Abhay Palchohan @1234. So that is not a password, because anyone can guess that particular password, right? So they can use a dictionary attack, or they can use some other kind of attack like guessing attack also they can use. So, and there is a technique of sorting which we need to understand for passwords, that whatever passwords we are providing, those will be hashed and uh, kept in the system, in the operating system will keep it, or the application will keep the password in a hashed form. But still, the user is able to guess the same. So we use the technique of sorting. So whatever password I'm going to give, the system will attach a random uh, bit pattern to that, right? And then it will sort. So whenever anyone is using a dictionary attack, so they are able to guess that my name, my PIN number, XYZ thing. Using the same, they can create their own dictionary, right? But the random bit which the system has, random sequence which the system has attached with my password, so that cannot be guessed by the this dictionary based attack that can only be taken care by this brute force attacks only. So, so this is about the password part. For the password, one more thing which is important is knowing a password manager. So password manager is a piece of information, sorry, a piece of software. It can be a system based or a cloud based, or which will just store our password and make our life easy. So once we have all the passwords there, whenever we require, we can just retrieve the password of that particular portal and then we can use the same. But there is a, I can say, disadvantage also of using the same. The disadvantage is if I forgot the master password of that particular password manager, then I'm not able to have the access to all of my records. The second is if any hacker is able to get my master password, then he is having the access to all of my records, all of my pinpointed records. It means he need not to search whether I'm having an account in XYZ bank or not, because that is already there in the password manager. So these are the challenges related to the password manager. Moving further is our cognitive password. So we can say cognitive password is a security question. So whenever we are saying my first pet name is Tony. So it is my cognitive, and Tony is the answer for the same, right? So this is what cognitive password are. But again, it is in the category of something you know, type one. Okay, now something you have, we can have badges, we can have cards, we can have tokens. Software tokens can further be divided into two: hardware-based token, software-based token. Hardware-based token and software-based token can further be divided into two: synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous means time-based. It means the server and the token timers are same, and whatever it will passcode it will generate, it will be valid for a particular time of the duration. Automatically it will change after that particular, right? So software based token are either in the software which we can implement in our system, or they can work as an authenticator like a Symantec authenticator, Microsoft authenticator, which we are using in our mobile phones. So this is about that. In the card, we can say we are having two types of card. One is a CAC, other one is a PIV. CAC are common access cards, and PIV are personal identity verification cards. So they both of them are PVC cards normally, but the RFID cards are also there. In RFID cards, the uh, unique ID is given to each and every card, so that will help to identify to which particular user which particular card is given. So this is about something you have. Then comes something you are. Something you are means biometric. So in biometric, the basic thing is fingerprinting. We need to understand that is the least cost and most reliable one, fingerprinting. Then we have palm prints also, costly, but also not that much reliable. So not used that much. But now some new techniques are coming in which they are measuring not only the palm prints, they are measuring the length of the fingers, the overall length of the palm, and using the ratios in those. So that is a new technology, but it is very costly. So that's why it was not that much in use. So the other techniques are like iris scanning, retina scanning, which we need to understand. But with iris, there are some health issues. So because we need to, uh, iris scan will tell us more about the health conditions of the people, and the retina scan is not providing that much. But for retina scan, we need to stand for a longer time duration to scan the retina of our eyes. So the next one about the something you are is signature dynamics. Whenever we are doing a signature, we are using a particular pattern. So pinpointing that particular pattern is signature dynamics. And also whenever you are typing something via keyboard, so we take every human take different time, and they have a set pattern, right? So just capturing that particular pattern is keystroke dynamics. Okay, so with this, we can say we have completed something you know, something you have, something you are. But as a topic takeaways, there are some more things which you need to understand in something you are. It means biometrics. These are FRR, FAR, and CER, right? And also you need to understand before this, you need to understand two types of error that can come in biometric system: type 1 error and type 2 error, right? So whenever there is any failure, but it means the user is not genuine, but he is allowed. We call it as false acceptance. Okay, and the other one is false rejection. The user is genuine, he is registered also, but he is rejected. So we call it as a false rejection. So false rejection is type 1 and false acceptance is type 2. False acceptance is always harmful. False rejection is harmful. It means uh, it will delay the things. the user is not a genuine user is not able to enter inside the premises. What exactly he will do? He will contact the administrator. He will contact the guard. They will provide some way to so that he can enter using proper channel only. He will enter into that particular premises and then he will re-register again, right? And the third one is whenever these two FAR and then FRR, right? They will cross with each other. We call it as a CER, crossover error rate. So this is the number that result when the device is adjusted to provide equal type 1 and type 2 error. It means both the errors are equal at this moment, right? CER at this particular point. So in most of the equipment, you will find that the CER is mentioned. So lower the CER, better the device is. Okay, so moving further, this is all about the multi-factor authentication. So next topic takeaways are authenticity, session management, registration and proofing. So let's take them one by one. Authenticity is the attribute of a security architecture that allow any individual and process to be held responsible for their actions and decisions, right? So when we are saying identification, authentication, authorization, after that comes accountability. Even accountability starts from identification itself. Suppose in any particular portal, whenever I'm going to Gmail, I need to give my what my ID. So that is what that is identity, and Google will check whether that particular identity is there in their database or not there, right? So that's what the and keeping a log of the same is accountability. Okay, so whenever I'm giving my identity and keeping a logs of the same, ensure that whenever any particular hacker starts from the very initial phase, so each and every action is recorded, right? So that's how what accountability is. So whatever I'm doing, whatever action I'm doing, whatever decision I'm taking in any particular system, then that is accountability. So if accountability, it should be strong, and the false acceptance rate of authentication need to be kept low whenever we have a proper accountability. So we can use some technique whenever, wherever we are keeping the log, whether it is a syslog server or some other way. So we can have it in the form of worm control. Worm control is write once, read many. So it means we can send all the logs to a centralized using an agent to a centralized machine. Okay. So the next one is a session management. In session management, what we need to understand what exactly a session means, what exactly session management means. So session is a series of exchange between two entities. It may be a human or it can be a web server. And session management means initiating, controlling, maintaining, and terminating these states is session management. So it is very important to understand that what exactly session is, what exactly session management is. Moving further is we need to understand the session hijacking, site jacking, and session token. So these are the three more important topic takeaways from session management. Moving further is registration and proofing of identity. So registration is first time whenever any particular new user will come into any particular environment, then they will register themselves. So that is what registration is. But whatever identity they are giving, that this I am Mr. XYZ, and verifying whether he is Mr. XYZ or not is called proofing of identity. So we can say proofing of identity means the person who sets up the identity in your organization needs a way to determine whether the person claiming an identity really is who they are claiming. Okay, so that's how. So we can use a third-party service also, like a credential service provider or CSP we call them. So they will do the proofing part on our behalf. So that's what proofing of identity is. So depending on criticality of my job function or the criticality of my organization, I can use different identity assurance level. I call them as IAL. Okay, so NIST document is giving NIST document 800-63A is providing some level of different standard on this. So as per NIST document, we can divide the same into three level IAL1, IAL2, and IAL3. And depending on the impact of the categorization, I can just divide the same. So we need to understand this thing. So we can say in registration and proofing, we need to understand two things. One thing is about the concept of registration and proofing, and the second concept, what is the way by which we can do the proofing. Okay, so because of the same, we will get the IAL, identity assurance level, that I'm 100% assured that the identity which this particular person is providing is genuine, is okay. Then comes the digital signature. So digital signature is a document that makes use of the modern public key cryptography to provide means of verifying any identity. So that is, so in digital signature, we need to understand about the public key, about subject, about certificate authority. So in my notes, I have already given them each thing in such a way so that it will be easier for you in the proper four categories which we have discussed previously also. The same way I have given them. So with this, the next is federated identity. So we can say the federated identity is, okay, there are two concepts of SSO. It means we can say there are two approaches of SSO. One is a FIM or other one is a DIM. FIM is federated identity management and DIM is delegated identity management. So FIM is like open ID. Open ID, if any, we have a open ID structure, and whatever application our organization is creating in on the background, they are using the same open ID as a I can say identity manager. So whatever application, so we call it as a federated identity management. And delegated identity management is like whenever I want to enter into any particular portal and it will say authenticate via Google. So they are not using the same infrastructure of Google at their backend. Even they are sending you to the Google portal. Once you are authenticated, a token will be created and that particular token will be passed to our application. So we call it as a delegated uh, identity management, DIM. So that is the difference we need to know about FIM and DIM. So we can say both approaches are for single sign-on only, but the type of the session created is totally different there. Then we need to understand the concept of credential, this management system. And we also need to understand the concept of authentication and authorization models. And what are the techniques like Radius, LDAP, Active Directory. We need to understand that also. Okay, moving further to the credential management system, or which we have discussed previously also, password manager. Sorry. So we can say any commercial credential manager, they will just store the password. They can store our digital certificate and token. Even our one-time password can be created using those systems. Even our biometric records can be stored there. So a good this CMS credential management system, it should be scalable and it should be available as and when required. It should not be the case that on mobile it is not available, because nowadays some applications sometime I'm using on my laptop, sometime on my office PC, sometime on my iPad, or sometime on my mobile. So that particular CMS should be available on each and every platform. It should not be the case that if it is, I have installed the same on my laptop, then it is available only and only on my laptop. So that is what. So the moving to the next one is integrated identity as a third party service. So we can take identity as a third party service also, and we can take the same in three ways. One is the on premises. It means we can ask the identity provider, the service identity service. It means the person who is providing identity services. We can ask him to have or to provide us a server in our own premises. We call it as a on premises. They can create an active directory structure, or they can create some other structure so that the user can be authenticated within our premises also. The next is cloud. So everything is on the cloud. We will just take a service from the cloud. It is IDaaS, identity as a service, right? The third one is the federated, which we have discussed previously also, that if any particular user, they have created their own system like OpenID system, and every application is using that particular OpenID system behind their application, we call it as a federated identity. So moving further is our, which we need to understand is user access review, which is important. So that is the next topic which we need to understand, like user access review, system account management. Okay, we need to understand the several access control models like role-based access control, rule-based access control, mandatory access control, discretionary access control, attribute-based access control. I'm going to take each one by one. Let's with a brief review, but in the notes I have already segregated them with the way which we have discussed. Sorry. So we can say role-based access control is based on the access control authorization on the roles or function of that particular user, which is assigned to him by the organization. Okay. So, and the next one is rule-based access control. In rule-based access control, we can take the example of a firewall. In firewall configuration, we are creating some rules, and the access will be provided depending on those rules. So we can say the access to the resources will be provided on some predefined rules in rule-based access control. Then comes mandatory access control. So if we are saying mandatory access control, we are normally using it military or we can say government organization only, because here the access is provided to the resources in a very static and very hierarchical approach. Okay, so we also call this particular type of a standard as NDAC, right? Non-discretionary access control, because the system itself here manage the access to the organization resources as per the security policies defined in that particular organization. It means we will create some security labels and we will give security labels. Those security labels, whoever he is having the access of that particular security label, if it is a like top secret, so anyone is who is having authorization of top secret, they can view the same. So that is what mandatory access control is. So moving further, or we also call it as a lattice based model. So moving further is our discretionary access control model, or DAC. So it means here in this particular model, in DAC model, the owner will decide who will get the access and up to what level he will get the access. It means the owner, the creator, or the data custodian, they will decide or they will define the control access, whether it is a read, write, okay, or execute. So that is DAC. And then comes the attribute. Attribute access control means it is a newest form, or we can say a next generation access control model, because depending on the attribute, like the next gen NAC, we have taken the example network access control. If any particular system is not having a updated antivirus, then access is not provided to that particular system. It means the access is dependent on some attributes. That is what ABAC, attribute based access control system, are. They will check some attribute. Depending on the attribute condition, they will allow or disallow the access. So the next topic is manage the identity and access provisioning lifecycle. So whenever we are going to provide any services to someone, we need to review those access also. We need to manage those also. So management here means reviewing them, and if any particular user is going from that particular organization, we need to remove them also. So as the identity lifecycle, which we have discussed, it is identity creation, identification, authentication, authorization, and deprovisioning. So in a simple sense, these are the steps which are normally we are using, like provisioning, reviewing, and deprovisioning. So we can just combine them like that also. So when we are saying reviewing, we need to check who accessed it. It may be because of the legal reasons, because of the security reasons, we are viewing the user access. That this particular user is having this access, whether it is required or not required. So also we need to check some of the factor like legal constraint, uh, depending on the frequency of the changes within the organization or the movement of the users within the departments, the cost factor involved. So at least we should check the when exactly the account is created, what are the access of this particular account to the different resources is there. The admin account, we need to give more emphasis on those, or the accounts which are having the maximum privileges. So we need to check, or maximum access. We need to check those accounts more. Also, we need to check the system account access review. We need to check that this particular system can be accessed by these or can be connected by these. The data in this system can be read and written from this particular system. We need to, when it can be started, when can it be stopped. So we need to check all these things. And finally, provisioning and deprovisioning. So whenever is we are adding a new identity, then we are provisioning that particular, and whenever we are removing it, it is deprovisioning. So we can say deprovisioning is the deactivation or decommissioning of any identity and the associated access to that particular identity. Okay, then last is the auditing and enforcement. We need to keep on auditing the access control of the users, and also we need to enforce the policy of that particular organization on the user access. So with this, friends, I want to say that we are able to do a quick cover up of the whole uh, domain 5 of CISSP, that is identity and access management. And in this exam also, in this domain also, you will get the questions depending on the 4 categories based on the concept, how to use that particular concept, where to use that particular concept, and when to use that particular concept. And finally, what exactly the impact or outcome of using that particular concept will be. And also the methodology or the steps involved while using that particular concept. So these are the 4 categories. So friends, I'm having a database of 3,000 questions, which I have divided topic wise and in these 4 categories. With that particular database itself, I I have created some notes as per the same format. That this in this particular topic, these are the topic takeaways. For this particular topic takeaway, this is the concept. For this particular concept, this is where we can use it, when we can use it, and how to use it. Finally, what will be the outcome if we are going to use it? Outcome can be of two types: advantages and disadvantages. And finally, these are the 2 steps, 3 steps, 10 steps via which I can use this particular concept in an environment. Right? So by learning in this way, in this distributed way, you are able to see that you're it means you are able to understand the whole concept in a very easy way and in a very fantastic way. So this particular thing will cost $31, which you need to purchase. With this, I want to say that you need to have a strong will and a strong dedication to clear the CISSP exam. So keeps on practicing using different techniques like the Quizlet, notes, book. Every time it is not possible to go through the book, so you can go through the notes also. So that is the forgetting curve. And finally, these are the 3000 plus questions. So the link is already provided in the YouTube link also. From there, that link, you can just purchase it. With this, you will get a notes copy also. In that notes copy, I've already divided the notes into each and every topic. I have divided into these 4 ways: the concept, how to use, when to use, where to use that particular concept, and the outcome of using that particular concept, whether it is a positive or negative, both. And finally, the steps. So by doing this, it will be very easy for you to understand CISSP and to master CISSP, I can say. Right? Okay. Thank you, friends. Thank you very much. Thank you for watching. Tomorrow we will meet at the same time. Thank you.